All right, so yesterday adding and subtracting decimals, today multiplying and dividing. There's really no reason if we were in a regular class I wouldn't do all of these in the same day. I decided to pull these separately because you kind of have to do some funky stuff with the decimal points. Nothing funky with the numbers. It's still just multiplication and division. But there's some rules that you have to follow with the actual placement of the decimal point that I wanted to kind of do these all by themselves. Okay, we're going to go in order of what I think is difficulty. I think multiplying is a lot easier than dividing, so that's the one we're going to do first. When you multiply, you do not have to line up decimal points at all. So when I set these up as a multiplication problem, I'm going to do 0.05 and 2.7, just kind of lining up my numbers like I normally would. I'm going to multiply like I normally would. 7 times 5 is 35, so carry the 3 over. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3, and 7 times 0 is 0, so I'm done. 2 times 5, now I'm going to skip a spot here because I used up my 7. I'm over multiplying by the 2, so I'm going to move over a space. You can fill that in with a 0. I just kind of always put an X in there, probably because I had a teacher that put X's in there at one point. So 2 times 5 is 10. I'm carrying the 1 now. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 10, and nothing else works. So when I go to add these up, don't let that X, don't think it's a variable or anything funky like that. I'm going to just add it, 5, and nothing else is 5. 3 and 0 is 3, and 1 and nothing is 1. Now, I need to put the decimal point back in. If you start with decimals and you multiply decimals, your answer's got to be a decimal of some sort. So when I go to put my decimal point back in, I had 1, 2, 3 digits after the decimal place, so I need to have 3 places in my answer. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3. My decimal point is going to go in front of the 1. If you want to slide a 0 in there, feel free. I think that's why calculators do it, so you don't overlook the decimal point. If calculators didn't put that leading 0 in there, I think a lot of people would just tell me the answer is 135. Okay, so we're doing these by hand though. So just make sure that you have as many decimal places in your answer as you had total in your the numbers that you're multiplying together. Okay, so you could probably tell me without ever doing the problem how many decimal places are going to be in the answer, right? I'm doing 3.2 times 5.8. 3.2 times 5.8. So I know my answer should have 2 places after the decimal point. 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, so 25 when I add the 1 back on. Skip my spot here. 5 times 2 is 10, carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. Okay, add them up. 6, 5, 8, 1. I had 2 places in my original problem, so I need to have 2 places in my answer. It's 18.56. Okay, the multiplication rules are the same. If you multiply a positive and a negative, your answer is negative, and yada, yada, yada. I wanted to focus on the rules. So these are all positive. Your homework's all positive, but those things are still out there if we ever get to it. All right, division. Okay, these are no harder than dividing regular numbers. However, we're going to do these long division by hand, but you've got to move the decimal point a certain way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this up. This is 5 divided by 0.4. So I've got 0.4 outside of my little division house and a 5 on the inside. So that number under the division sign is 5 point, right? 5 point, that's where the decimal point would be. So what I'm going to have to do, I can't divide longhand by a decimal. So I'm going to, instead of this being 0.4, I'm going to slide that decimal point to the right and make it just 4. Well, if I do that, I have to slide this one to the right too and fill in the gap with a 0. Okay, so when I do that, right, I filled in my gap with the 0. My decimal point is now here behind the 0. I'm going to slide it up on top for my answer. You follow me on that? So when I go to divide, I'm not dividing 5 by 0.4. I'm dividing 50 by just 4. So I'm going to go back and do my long division rule. I'm going to take 4 goes into 5 one time. That's a 4. So when I subtract, that is 1, 0. 4 goes into 10 two times. That's 8. So I'm going to do 10 minus 8 is 2. And I'm going to bring down an extra 0 so I can finish my arithmetic here. 4 goes into 20 5 times. All of these will work out completely. There won't be any remainder or anything like that. So your answer is 12.5 on this. 5 divided by 0.4 is 12.5. Okay, same thing here. I am taking 6 point, whoops, I need some more room. Come on, there we go. 6.9, I'm going to divide that by 0.2. So that's going to become just 2. And that's going to become 69. That decimal point slides right up in part of my answer, and then I'm just going to work it out. 2 goes into 6 3 times. That's 6. So 0, bring down the 9. 2 goes into 9 4 times. That's 8. 1. I need to bring down another 0 to keep working. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And I'm done. Again, no remainder. We're not going to go through all that business with remainders and leftovers and all that jazz. 34.5. Okay. It's not hard. It's nothing that you haven't done before. This is just, I want to refresh you on these rules.